They are the major party nominees, but finally, we have alternatives to Trump and Clinton. Third-party candidates.
We need a green president.
Vote for Jill Stein.
Who? The third party I say makes sense is the Libertarians.
This is the largest convention in Libertarian Party history.
Thousands just gathered to choose Libertarian nominees for president and vice president.
This is a chance where like-minded people can come together and try to make the world a better place.
I think it's very exciting right now for Libertarian.
It is refreshing to hear Libertarian arguments.
I have a constitution. What I need is a government that honors it and doesn't ask for licenses and permits and certificates for things that are none of the government's business.
All the Libertarians have better plans than Hillary and Donald.
He's just wrong.
This is Gary Johnson. Libertarians chose him to be their nominee. Johnson and other party crashers. That's our show tonight.
And now, John Stossel.
Is this the year when an outsider will finally crash the stranglehold of Republicans and Democrats? I sure hope so. Only one third party will be on the ballot in all 50 states, just one, because to get on the ballot requires lots of money and people filing forms, getting signatures, lots of them. And that one party is, of course, the Libertarian Party, which this show considers the sensible party because libertarians respect limited government, and that's what made America possible.
Number and badge. Very good.
Yes, Governor.
Great, guys. Show me your number and badge.
Libertarians just held their nominating convention. 1,000 delegates showed up to vote. State by state, they tallied the ballots.
Governor Johnson, 7. Mr. McAfee, 3.
And on the first ballot, no one won the 50% needed. Former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson was close at 49%. But before the second ballot, plenty of people were chanting, vote for anyone but Gary.
Anybody but Gary. Boston McAfee Gary.
Nevertheless, on the second ballot, Johnson won the nomination.
The next president of the United States, Governor Gary Johnson.
Joining me now are Governor Gary Johnson and his vice presidential pick, former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld. So I congratulate you both.
Thank you.
But you've run before. You got less than 1%, slightly less last time. This is going to be different?
Last time, no national polls. So this time, already 3 national polls, 10, 11%, big difference.
Somebody told me that when you have national polls and you've got the main party candidates and any third party, they can get 10%. There was one poll where D's Nuts, I think, got 10%.
I think if Mickey Mouse were the third name, Mickey would get 30%, but Mickey's not on the ballot in all 50 states, and this is the dream ticket for me. Beyond my wildest imagination, Bill Weld is my running mate.
Why? He doesn't look like a dream to me.
No, not a dream.
2 ex-Republican governors.
Well, you know, we're a certain type of governor. We were rated the 2 most fiscally conservative governors in the United States. We overlapped. My second term was his first term. So we've known each other for 20 years, and we see it the same way. And we don't buy the dog food that either party is selling. We don't buy the government making decisions for people in their private lives, part of the Republican Party platform, and we don't buy the Democrats' penchant for spending money that we don't have.
I like that you go first to fiscally responsible. That's the biggest issue. The spending keeps going up.
Size and role of government is the biggest issue, for sure, for both of us.
People say, well, you're just going to get Hillary elected, though I notice on these first polls, you take equally from Republicans and Democrats.
Actually, in these first polls, the fine analysis is more votes from Hillary. But at the end of the day, I think it's from both sides. And keep in mind, 50% of Americans right now that are registering to vote are identifying themselves as independent. Where is that representation? I happen to think it's libertarian. It's just that people don't know it. So the opportunity here coming out of this convention is the opportunity really to tap into 30 million Americans that haven't identified.
I got a tweet from someone named Neil Ernargens or something asking about you. I have no idea who he is or what he stands for, but I'm seriously considering voting for him. That people don't know. So you now are going on TV. People are getting to know you, and clearly you are an important enough candidate and real when Donald Trump attacks you. Here's Trump right after you got the nomination.
Gary Johnson got 1% of the vote last time. I watched that whole situation. It was really pretty disgraceful. I think it's a total fringe deal.
You're a fringe deal.
Spot on. Spot on. I mean, really, we are totally fringe. Small government, fiscally conservative, socially liberal, 2 Republicans serving 2 terms each in heavily blue states.
Blue states, both of you.
It's blue state. In other words, in terms of positions, we're absolutely smack in the middle, and neither other party is. The Republicans are way off to the right on social issues, in my opinion. The Dems are way off to the left on spending and fiscal responsibility, in my opinion. That puts us in the middle. The people in the middle are not a fringe candidate, with deepest respect.
So Key is explaining this to people. Key would be getting in on the debates.
Right.
Key is being in the polls that determines who are in the debates. Although my name has appeared in 3 polls, there have been another 40 polls since where our names have not appeared.
TV debates obviously would be big. People at the convention were excited that it might happen.
Once we hit 15%, we're on the national debate stage. That's crazy. That sparks a movement.
15%. Meaning?
You know, I'm not willing to concede that because the Commission on Presidential Debates says it likes the figure 15%, that came down from Holy Mount somewhere.
It's the rule. They made an agreement with the parties.
With the parties, yeah.
Republicans and Democrats.
Okay, well, agreements can be made, and they could be unmade either by a court or by the force of popular opinion. And if the national polls keep saying that 25% of the people in the United States don't like either party and a majority disapprove of each major party candidate, maybe we should consider my analysis, which is that the 2 parties are a duopoly and they're locked in a kind of a death spiral, and their major enterprise seems to be to slander the other party as opposed to coming forward with constructive suggestions.
And outspend the other party. But you sound like you're giving up on the idea of getting 15% in the polls.
No. I'm just saying that's not written in holy writ anywhere.
As at the Libertarian Convention, lots of Democrats, lots of delegates told us that they thought you could win over Bernie Sanders' Democrats. Here's one.
Bernie and Johnson have a lot of the same stances on some issues.
Do you want to spend us broke?
No, the I Side With website, which, you get online, take the quiz, answer 60 questions, get paired up with the presidential candidate most in line with your views. I'm in line most with myself, but next in line is Bernie Sanders at 73% because of the whole social side, legalizing marijuana, let's stop dropping bombs, women's right to choose, marriage equality.
Yeah, I have a lot of exposure to millennials, partly through own kids and partly through young people in my law firm and other businesses, and to them, personal freedom and liberty is much more important than the fine points of their salary. So if you said to them, you can either have personal freedom and liberty and make your own life work choices, or you can have $6,000 more a year or $16,000 more a year, they wouldn't hesitate. They'd throw the money right out the window.
All right, but you talked about agreeing with Bernie on not going into all these wars. I wonder about you, Bill, and in 2004 you declared Bush had proven himself in the global sphere. We face grave responsibilities. I think he has grown in office. Sounds like you support going into Iraq.
Yeah, no, that Iraq thing has turned out to be one of the worst mistakes ever. It's destabilized the Middle East. It's destabilized the relationship between Sunni and Shia. So it's turned out to be...
You've changed your mind about...
Well, I wasn't exactly there waving flags when the invasion occurred. I wasn't in office. But in retrospect, in the Middle East and throughout any Sunni and Shia countries, it's been a disaster.
One more pushback. On guns, you propose some of the toughest gun laws in the country.
I personally have never been in favor of a ban on a particular type of weapon unless it's a weapon that can fire a tactical nuclear warhead or something like that. There are a lot of bills kicking around in Massachusetts. I've been a hunter my entire life, a gun owner my entire life. I really have considered myself a Second Amendment guy my whole life.
Why'd you pick him? He's not thought of by us libertarians as a libertarian-ish Republican?
Bill Weld, for me, has been a role model from day one. Bill Weld got the A from Cato Institute. Bill Weld was declared the fiscally most conservative governor in the country, a title that I later was able to attain after he left office. First day in office, Bill Weld furloughs 8,000 employees.
Really?
This guy...
9% of the state workforce.
How'd you pick them?
Huh? No, they were up for furlough, and they never came back, and I never received a single postcard about where are those essential 8,000 employees that you furloughed on day one. I had to cut the budget 14% my first 2 months. Piece o' cake.
Let me remind you, Jesse Helms denied him the ambassadorship to Mexico because he was pro-gay, pro-choice, and pro-medical marijuana at a time nobody else was talking about this stuff. So that was me on trial when they put him on trial. And what's my eventual outcome going to be with the Republican Party? Well, at some point, I'm going to have to pull the plug because I'm just tired of defending this social dogma that most people have no appetite for whatsoever.
All right, you mentioned medical marijuana. You're for legalizing recreational use. You have come around to that?
Sure.
Other drugs?
I'm not advocating the legalization of other drugs, but if we legalized all drugs tomorrow, the world would be a better place. 90% of the drug problem is prohibition-related, not use-related. On the marijuana side, I think California is going to vote to legalize marijuana this November. I think that's going to be the tipping point, and it makes the world a better place. It gives us a quantum leap of understanding when it comes to
considering it now. Is it going to go for it?
It's going to be close. Looks like 50-50.
A lot of pushback, I hear. Now, often when libertarians gather, there are some people who give non-libertarians a reason to say, you libertarians are just whack jobs. The recent convention was no exception. There were plenty of weirdos. One went up on stage and stripped down to a thong. One campaign hired women on stilts to dress as giant butterflies. Here you are, Governor Johnson, schmoozing with someone with a boot on his head. People, this is a hit we take.
You know what? It's not unique to just libertarians. It's something that exists in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party both.
It was great because the hotel where we met also hosted the comic book convention the same weekend. So they were strolling freely through the halls, and you had to look twice sometimes.
A widely shown YouTube video at the 2012 convention for Democrats had 25 Democrats being interviewed. Will you support legislation to ban corporate profits? To which the answer was 25 rapid-fire responses. Absolutely.
Oh, God, they're so scary. Thank you, Governor Johnson, Governor Weld. Good luck to you. I'm so impressed that you vetoed as governor 700-plus bills. Since we played videos of some of the weirdos at the convention, I want to point out that most people were there had good reasons for being libertarian.
And I want people to look after their neighbors because they choose to, not because they're doing so at the point of a gun.
I own my body. I own my life.
The government really has no business being involved in my personal life.
Live and let live. Let's let everybody do what they want.
I'm like, oh, finally, I'm with people that understand.
Yes, finally, that's a nice feeling, and we have it on this show. Next, former presidential candidate Ron Paul joins us to offer his take on Johnson and Weld. Also, I'll argue with the presidential candidate from another third party, a fourth party, the Green Party candidate.